We got our Super Bowl 53 odds here. Cam Rogers with you alongside Tom Downey to bring it to you. So let's start things off with the longest odds out there.
Yes.
And as we go along, we'll get better towards the favorites and all of that. So we won't spend too much time on teams like the Jets here. 100-to-1 odds to capture the Lombardi Trophy.
6 teams at 100-to-1. If you're feeling aggressive, put some money down on the Jets. But yeah, I'm not putting any money on that one. There's no way.
Zero.
There's zero. That's why they're 100-to-1.
Okay. We got the Jets there. Let's go to the Chicago Bears. This is kind of surprising. I might throw a buck or two on that.
I mean, I am not, but I think of the teams we're going to discuss kind of in this realm, I think the Bears might have the best realistic chance to make it closer to the playoffs or even in the playoffs altogether. So not great odds for the Bears. I think maybe of the teams at the 100-to-1 odds, maybe they're the underrated of their group.
All right, and then the Cincinnati Bengals, we were talking about how Marvin Lewis could be on the hot seat. 100-to-1 odds for them to win the Super Bowl.
I'm not betting on that one either. There's just no way. Why would you waste your money in that fashion?
Miami also with the same odds here to win Super Bowl 53. A lot of changes there, particularly the losses of Jarvis Landry and Ndamukong Suh and Mike Pouncey there. Did get Amendola. Josh Sitton's a nice signing, but Ryan Tannehill, how will he perform?
Yeah, I mean, none of these teams are going to end up winning, like plain and simple there.
All right, we got the Jets, Bengals, Bears, and Dolphins, all long shots to win Super Bowl 53. Let's go to the next bracket of 4 here. We've got the Cleveland Browns. They also have 100-to-1 odds, so a lot of teams tied here.
Yeah, these are the bottom tier teams that they are not going to get it done, Cam, plain and simple. So we won't spend too much time on I'm sorry teams of the Browns, the Bears, and also the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Vegas not feeling it for Buffalo.
No.
So I'm not that high on the Bills, but I am kind of surprised they're tied for the worst odds in the entire NFL.
Especially a team that just
not what I expected.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Arizona Cardinals here. 80-to-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. Who will be the quarterback long-term in this season? Could Sam Bradford survive 16-plus games? That's the goal there for Wills.
He's not. He's just not. Like, there's no way. So we took some heat for having the Cardinals so low. We really weren't that much lower on them. I don't believe in Arizona. In the NFC West, I think there's a good chance that they finish last. Now, there are some weird teams that we'll get to as we go along here, but the Cardinals being so low really does not surprise me.
We got the Redskins at 80-to-1 odds as well. Tom, I think this is just a matter of getting out of the NFC East. I don't know if they do.
You see some teams in the NFC East that are ranked lower, and that's kind of why. And I think you'll see a couple of notes I'll make here of teams that you feel good about making the playoffs, but maybe not winning the Super Bowl. I think the Redskins are a team I feel better about making the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl at all.
All right, the Giants have 75-to-1 odds to win the Super Bowl, and maybe Eli Manning bumps them up a little bit because two-time Super Bowl champion. But
I mean, I am not going to put money on the Giants because I don't trust Eli Manning. Now, if the Giants make it to the playoffs, I will reconsider because playoff Eli is a real thing. But in terms of actual Super Bowl production and trust, I don't have it for Eli Manning, and I don't think the Giants can be that good. Frankly, Cam, I am at least just a little bit surprised that the Giants have better odds than the Redskins. I would have at least made them the same.
All right, that's fair. All right, we got the Giants at 75. The Bucs are at 65-to-1 odds to win the Super Bowl, and
Dirk Cutter's in the hot seat. That's why.
Dirk Cutter? Yeah, no, I'm not putting any money on Tampa Bay.
I'm not either. I do not trust them whatsoever to make a playoff run, and that's why Dirk Cutter was on our hot seat list and not high up on the Super Bowl odds via sportsbooks.
Let's go to the next team here in the rankings. We've got the Detroit Lions with 60-to-1 odds, and
I'm not that surprised.
Amid the controversy around Matt Patricia, Tom,
I will continue to back the Detroit Lions, the team that's going to finish around 9-7, around 8-8, because that's what Detroit does. But that also means Detroit's not going to go win the Super Bowl. So that's why I'm not surprised they rank around the 22nd team in the NFL based on the odds. I might have them a little bit higher because maybe Matt Stafford gets hot and the ground game gets going, but I'm not going to put any money on them, Cam. There's no way.
Here's where I may throw some money down, Tom. Tennessee Titans, 45-to-1 odds. I like this.
I was very surprised by this, having the Titans there at 45-to-1 odds outside the top 20. Now, I know there's going to be some regression here for Tennessee, I think, in reality, but I don't know why it's 45-to-1 odds. That's why I don't understand. Like, that low is stunning to me.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have it anywhere near there. I would have them so much higher. If I'm looking for an actual dark horse based on the odds, sign me up for Tennessee. You and I were in agreement. We think they're a borderline top 10 team.
I have them in my top 10 power rankings.
Now, I know that there's some regression candidacy here for the Titans, but the new coaching staff, I think, is a good thing. So to have them at 45-1 odds below, a lot of teams that will break down here, look, they got lower odds than the Colts, man.
Unbelievable.
That does not make sense to me. So the Titans at 45-1, that is a snub through and through.
All right, let's go to those Colts. They have 40-1 odds to win Super Bowl 53, and I guess a lot of this is predicated on Andrew Luck being completely healthy and that offensive line balling out.
Clearly. This is clearly based on Andrew Luck coming back, and also Andrew Luck being a healthy NFL quarterback and being the Andrew Luck that we're used to seeing in the past. That much is very clear to me based on these odds. I'm actually rather surprised. If you had told me that the Colts had better odds than the Titans to at least make it to the Super Bowl, I'm sprinting there and saying, give me money on the Titans, because that does not make sense to me. The Colts, as the roster overall, Cam, it's just not very good right now. Now, getting back Andrew Luck is a big, big deal. We saw how much that changed him in his first couple years with the Colts, but I have zero faith in the Colts with the uncertainty around Andrew Luck. Now, if Luck comes back healthy and is who he is in the past, maybe we can have a different discussion. But based on where they're at right now, I just do not trust the Colts really at all. I hope that changes because I like Luck a lot, but I just don't think they're ready yet.
Certainly that defense. I think that defense needs to go through its motions a little bit.
It's young. It's a rebuilding defense. The offensive line has to do a better job as well.
All right, we got the Colts there with their Super Bowl 53 odds. How about the Baltimore Ravens here? 40-1, just like the Colts. And we'll see what Joe Flacco actually shows up this year, but
all right, Ken,
I'm hoping it's the good one.
You're our Baltimore expert. Is this too high, too low, or just about right?
I think it's just about right. And Ravens fans out there will like this because they like the underdog role, like most fans. I mean, most fans don't really appreciate the overhype, if you will, and a lot of media attention and what have you. The Ravens addressed the wide receiver position with Willie Snead, Michael Crabtree, John Brown. The draft left a little to be desired there. I'm hoping Orlando Brown will be good at right tackle. They can put him over there, kick Alex Lewis back into guard. I think the offensive line will actually work out. It just comes down to Joe for me.
It does, and that's why I don't trust the Baltimore Ravens. So that's why I'm not going to put the Ravens on there. I think this is about right for Baltimore in the end, but I would not have them any higher, and I'm not going to put money on them to win the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe Flacco gets fired up because Jackson's there, but I just don't think so.
How about this team here, the Chiefs? Interesting one at 40-1 odds. Andy Reid's still there, but Patrick Mahomes now the quarterback.
We'll make note of them here, Cam, because the Chiefs have the lowest odds of any AFC West team, which I find really interesting. Now, with, in reality, a first-year quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, even though it is year two, it's his first year playing, I'm very surprised even that the Chiefs are this low. Like, below the Raiders, below the Broncos, below the Chargers. I thought at least one of those teams would have worse odds. Now, I think other teams have kind of been betted up a little bit, and that's kind of increased the line. But the Chiefs at 40-1 odds, I don't hate those. Like, of that little group we just discussed, Ravens, Colts, outside of Titans, I think the Chiefs, I like them the best of a dark horse outside the top half of the NFL.
Okay, certainly some changes going on with the Chiefs there. Alex Smith no longer there. Marcus Peters, Albert Wilson, Zach Fulton, a lot of changes there for the Chiefs. Benny Logan now with the Tennessee Titans as well. He was a stalwart there on that front line. All right, so the Chiefs have 40-1 odds. Let's take a look at the Chargers. They have 35-1 odds, and I'll tell you what. I know it's Phillip Rivers, and he's made the playoffs once since 2010. But I like that number. I'm throwing down a few bucks on the Chargers. They are built to make a run in the playoffs.
And look, we mentioned earlier in the show how John Elway thought the Chargers were the team to beat in the AFC West, and here's LA at number 3 among the AFC West teams. So 35-1 odds. We're going to go over 3 teams here that are also in this mix, but I agree with Kim. I don't mind this spot for the Chargers. They're sitting in there in that just outside the top 15. If you want to put money down on some dark horses, if and when your state legalizes sports betting, LA's a good fit, I think. I think of those teams up there, Colts, Ravens, Chargers, those last 2, Chiefs and LA, I feel most confident about, even though, for good reason, they're not the odds-on favorites.
Everybody in the comments sections are already looking forward to the Lamar Jackson era.
So. Oh, me too. I can't wait.
Come on, guys.
Sorry, buddy.
Where are the Joe Flacco loyalists out there? Killing me. All right.
They all died off.
Let's go to some more odds here. We've got the Carolina Panthers at 35-1 odds to capture the Super Bowl, and I like that number too. More upside than, say, a Jacksonville Jaguars because Cam Newton has been to a Super Bowl.
I was really surprised that the Panthers check in here at 35-1 odds. I think that is surprisingly low for a team that, as we know, consistently are a borderline playoff team. They are behind quite a few notable NFC teams. We have not discussed, for example, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Niners either. The Panthers are behind all of those teams.
Interesting.
I think when you look at teams that made the playoffs last year that are going to miss it this year, the Panthers, they make some sense as a fit there. But to only have 35-1 odds, and we've seen them at least make it to it before, that is surprising to me. So I definitely would have had the Panthers up higher. I would have thought 30-1. At the very least, I would have flipped them on the Cowboys, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But I thought that was very low for the Panthers, and I think that that's a little bit of a disservice to Carolina as well.
All right, Carolina Panthers, 35-1 odds. What I am noticing here with Vegas and their latest odds, Tom, they are going off of style points. All right, and brand names.
There's without a doubt, and
I
think that's because people bet on them and they get driven up. The brand name teams, the sexy teams get pushed up, but just very intriguing to me.
Jacksonville here with 35-1 odds as well, and I'm staying away as long as Blake Bortles is the quarterback. No disrespect to Blake Bortles, but I just don't see him as a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
I was just really surprised that Jacksonville is so low at 35-1 odds because that's not what I would have guessed. But the interesting thing is that I think they're going to make the playoffs. And I think maybe Jacksonville is the perfect example of a team that they're going to have higher odds to make it to the playoffs, but no one trusts them to win the Super Bowl because of Blake Bortles. And that's why they're so low. But to have them behind the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans, for example, was a surprise to me. I kind of thought a little bit disrespectful. Not that Jacksonville really cares, and I'm sure Jags fans like it because they can potentially make more money if they bet and win.
Sure.
But that was just... It was so low. It was such a surprise for me. I didn't get it. Both Carolina and Jacksonville, I thought were complete snubs.
The next team we're going to go to here, Tom, just makes me wonder why. The Seattle Seahawks have 30-1 odds to win Super Bowl 53.
This is like betting on the Mets, man.
A team in a reset, Tom.
That's too cheesy. I apologize. That's the most overplayed joke. The Mets and the Knicks, betting on those two teams.
But can you explain this?
Brand name. The next couple teams we'll discuss, it is brand name. That's why Seattle is so high, because they lost a lot, and they didn't make the playoffs last year, so why would that change?
And they didn't have a great draft.
Seahawks fans don't like it when we make fun of their draft, but they didn't have a great draft.
Just a fact.
So they didn't.
Sorry.
I mean, when you take a halfback in round one with no offensive line, you got to do it.
We hate to tell the truth, but we have to do it.
I didn't bring my blue Kool-Aid, so I'm not drinking it today, although I do have some at my apartment.
So, I mean... Are you throwing any money down on Seattle?
No. No. I'm not. I'm absolutely not.
Okay. Seahawks there, 30-1 odds. This team as well, the Denver Broncos. No thank you, especially when we're talking about Case Keenum at the quarterback position. Yeah, he performed well a year ago for the Vikings. Can he repeat that?
Again, I think this is brand name with Denver being so high because they went 5-11 last year. And yes, they got Case Keenum, but for them to be at a 30-1 odds, same as a team like the Falcons, who we'll get to here, Denver in reality is a top 15 odds team. I don't think that's accurate. I think they're closer to bottom 15. And I think they are bottom 15. And the defense is great. I get that. And I guess there's the upside, like we mentioned earlier, but I don't like Denver being so high. I really don't.
Denver Broncos.
I think it's too high for Denver.
Yeah, I don't know about them. 30-1 odds.
Case Keenum has proven me wrong, and I am proud to admit that because I like it when players prove me wrong, Cam.
All right, let's go to the Dallas Cowboys because they have 30-1 odds as well, Tom.
Brand name. This is the brand name section as we go through these teams. Seattle, Denver, the Cowboys, and the next thing we'll get to in a minute. I've mentioned this before, and it's not even that much of a hot take. I think it is more likely that the Cowboys miss the playoffs altogether than they make it to the Super Bowl or even to the NFC title game.
I agree with that.
I don't really fully trust Jason Garrett. I think you've got to see better play from the offense and the defense. I just don't trust Dallas right now. In reality, I think they're low-key rebuilding, which some of the Cowboys report people don't like, some agree.
They don't want to hear that.
But their overall moves, like you got rid of your two best receivers in Witten and Dez, regardless of what people think about Bryce Butler. they're kind of like maybe it's more of a reset than Seattle, which I think is actually a full-on rebuild. But I think the Cowboys are okay with knowing, hey, we might not actually make playoffs, but it's okay because we're building for beyond this.
And they're saying that out of the side of their mouth right now.
Like, and it'll be okay. Yeah. Sorry, Jason, you're fired. But that's where you sit with the Cowboys.
All right, so 30-1 odds for Dallas, as well as the Oakland Raiders too, Tom. And again, brand name, I guess. But hey, they were a Super Bowl contending type of team in 2016.
Well, they regressed in a big way in 2017. So I actually, of the brand name teams you just discussed, the Cowboys, Seahawks, Raiders, maybe the Cowboys I'd still put above Oakland, but I think Oakland makes more sense than a team like Denver because Oakland was better than Denver last year. And I think that they have better coaching as well. Now, we'll see how John Gruden fares in his return back. It might take a year or two or something to kind of get back on track fully and get back in the groove for him. But I think the Raiders are going to be in better shape than maybe we're giving them credit for overall. But again, I think this is a little high. This is a brand name team that I think has higher odds than maybe they should.
All right, so the Raiders have 30-1 odds. The Falcons do as well. So this is a team I think that got better in the offseason, Tom. They could go 12-4, 13-3.
This is a team that should have higher odds, but I think this is about right because I don't like Steve Sarkisian. And I've made that clear many a time on various shows. This Falcons offense should be the best offense in the entire NFL. And if they're not, something has gone wrong for the Falcons. And in all likelihood, it's probably on the OC, Steve Sarkisian. This team should be incredible. They should have no problems moving the ball down the field, a good offensive line, a great ground game, all the weapons you could possibly want for Matt Ryan. You bring in Calvin Lee. This Falcons team should be incredible. But do we trust Sark? We saw them have a bit of a letdown year after a disastrous Super Bowl game against the Patriots. I think they bounce back. Of the NFC teams, I think the Falcons have some of the better, outside the top 5 or so, some of the better odds in terms of making money and getting some upside.
All right, 30-1 odds for the Falcons there. Let's go to the Texans here with 25-1 odds. And a lot of this has to be based off of quarterback health again, Deshaun Watson.
I'm kind of surprised. I like them being ahead of a team like the Cowboys. I think the Texans are a better team right now than the Cowboys. But they did. Yes, they went 4-12. Yes, they get back to Deshaun Watson. Yes, they play in the AFC. That seems a little bit high for me. Like, I don't think that's good value here, Cam.
Bad value.
I think you're paying a premium for a team that went 4-12 last year with, in reality, a bad offensive line. The offensive line is not good for Houston. So if that doesn't improve in a big way, what happens if Watson gets hurt again? They win 4 or 5 games because the quarterback play is not good behind him. So that's the concern with me for Houston. I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs and maybe made a nice run, but I don't think it makes sense for them to be so high on the odds.
Let's go to the New Orleans Saints here with 22-1 odds. I like this number here. In fact,
I do too.
They're below some teams that I don't think will make it to the Super Bowl.
I agree with you. So I like this. We mentioned the Falcons. It's tough in the NFC South, and maybe that's why they're all a little bit lower than we would otherwise predict. But I like the odds here for the Saints. It's a good betting value. I believe in the Saints. I believe in Drew Brees. I got no problem with them being here, even higher. I would not mind if they were, we'll get to some 15-1 and some 12-1 odds. I think that might be a better odds value for the Saints than 22-1. This is a bit of an undersell.
A lot of Niner Empire being represented in the comments section. We got the 49ers with 15-1 odds to win this Super Bowl, Tom. It's a little too rich for me.
Choo. Get on the hype train, Cam.
I don't know.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
I guess.
That's what we got here because 15-1 odds, wow. Yes, they look great with Jimmy Garoppolo, but how many times in recent years have we been burned by the new hot young team? That end of the year well, everyone's buying into them, and then they just don't click in the same way they did down the stretch last year.
Remember, like the Dolphins were that team, or the Bucs of last
year. The Bucs,
year.
even the Titans, because they didn't play that well. The Raiders, for example. So I am just concerned that the Niners are going to be the next Oakland Raiders, at least for a year. I like Shanahan more than I like the Raiders coach, Del Rio, but it's just you're paying a premium here. I don't think it's good value. I don't like it.
Packers 12-1 odds. Aaron Rodgers coming back. This seems right.
This seems exactly right to me. They're just outside the top 5. They're actually tied for 5th. This seems exactly right for the Green Bay Packers because as long as Rodgers is healthy, they're going to be a Super Bowl threat and they're going to be a popular pick to win the NFC, as stacked as it is.
You got the Minnesota Vikings with the same odds as well.
Seems right as well.
Okay,
I think this is exactly where they should go. I think this is the perfect fit for the Vikings and the Packers right here at 12-1. I think the Saints should be in the 12-1 range.
Yep.
I'm kind of surprised they're not. The Niners, I think, we're hyping them up a little bit too much right now. But Packers and Vikings, that is proper value for them at 12-1.
Let's get to the favorites, and we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers with 10-1 odds to get it done. And I think this really depends on the continuity among the killer bees, right? The Roethlisberger, the Brown, and the Bell connection there. If Bell can perform well and doesn't hold out and doesn't start sluggishly, then I think the Steelers will be okay. But then again, this is the AFC, and anything can happen, but also it could just be the Steelers and Patriots again.
I think you're exactly right, and that's why Pittsburgh is so high. You and I agree we're not as high on them as the overarching whole of the NFL. They're
Correct.
behind the Vikings, the Packers, and the Saints. But in terms of chances to make it to the Super Bowl, because they play in the AFC, I do think they are worthwhile having a top 5 spot, being those 10-1 odds. I think it's a good fit. I really do.
10-1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go to the LA Rams, 9-1 odds. Honestly, Tom, I thought they'd be much better in terms of a favorite.
I think this is about right. I mean, I had them at 3 on my power rankings, so
yes,
this seems right. You do have to wonder how much they'll handle getting in all the new talent, and chemistry matters in the NFL. So how do those guys coalesce, and how do they all get along, and how do they all play together? That's the question mark for me. But on paper, I think they are at least number 3. So 9-1 odds, frankly, Cam, I think feels about right for me. That's about where I think the Rams should end up. Maybe a little bit higher, but I think there's at least decent value because of all the guys that they brought in.
Beautiful additions. Look at these guys.
Whew, that's impressive.
Unbelievable.
Almost cheating.
All right, we got the Rams there with 9-1 odds. Let's go to the Eagles, the champs. They're not the favorite.
Disrespect right
Wow.
there. Disrespect. I actually kind of like those odds, Cam. Which I don't often say for a team that's in the top 2, but the Eagles at 8-1, it's not that bad.
No.
Like they're a talented team. They're built to win. They won with their backup quarterback. Carson Wentz is better than Nick Foles. He should be healthy for the entire year. Yeah, I like those odds for the Eagles there. Even though I'll throw in the little but, you typically don't win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Correct.
So maybe you don't want to put money on them in the end.
Yeah.
It's really tough to do it.
Of course, the New England Patriots were just to the Super Bowl as well, so they are left here on the list. They are the favorite, 5-1 odds to capture the Lombardi Trophy. I don't like this number.
Can I just say that I'm really glad it's you on air with me and not Producer Harris?
I'm sure you are.
Because Producer Harris would have been really excited about the Patriots there being at the number 1 spot.
Is it just by default? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it is, because they're always in the discussion.
Yeah.
So even I would say if I'm picking one team that I feel the most confident about to make it to the Super Bowl and win it, I would have gone with the New England Patriots. I agree with that. And I know it's boring because it's always New England, but I think it makes a lot of sense for them to be the number 1 team here in the Super Bowl odds because they got the best chance of at least making it. That is my mindset.
All right, the Patriots are the betting favorites here to capture Super Bowl 53. Let's summarize the entire list. We've got the Jets, Bengals, Bears, and Dolphins as the long shots on our list here. We got the Browns, Bills, Cardinals, Redskins getting a little better as we go along. Giants, Bucks, Lions, and Titans.
Undersold.
Major disrespect.
Put some respect on the Titans' name, Vegas.
Yeah. We got the Colts, Ravens, Chiefs, and Chargers at the midway point here, followed by the Panthers, Jaguars, Seahawks, and Broncos.
Brand names coming up, Seattle and Denver.
Wow. Dallas, Oakland, Atlanta, and Houston, Tom.
It's all about the hashtag brand, Cam.
Yeah, seriously. And then the next slate of 4 here, like that number with the Saints, we got the 49ers, Packers, and the Vikings as well. And then the 4 favorites, the Steelers, the Rams, the Eagles, and the New England Patriots there.
Eagles, Patriots again. It just kind of makes sense.
Will it happen? Stay tuned.